support from all the different stakeholder groups to start us on this path of capital improvements, which were really needed because our capital infrastructure was in such dire need of improvement. And there was tremendous momentum built. And so when I became director, even though we had this operating budget crisis, there was still this broad support, bipartisan, from Metro Council, from the mayor's office, from stakeholders around the city, and from private funders who were willing to donate towards library capital projects. There was a great momentum. And so what I had to do was just not interrupt the momentum. And today, I feel really great about where I'm leaving the library as I retire. And then our staff, I said a while ago, our staff are dedicated. They have incredibly challenging jobs because they never know what somebody's going to walk in the door needing, and they're there to try and help them get whatever they come in the door needing. And they're just remarkably talented, and they're why the library is so loved. And I really appreciate all that they have done, working with them at all these different levels over the past 28 years. Every day, all across the community, we are doing inspiring work that profoundly impacts people's lives and that gives them an opportunity to succeed that no other institution in our society today is providing to them. And it's doing it all at no cost to them. I'm not going to call it free, even though it's in our name, but it's doing it all at no cost to them. And that is so undervalued, and it is what I am dedicating myself to after I retire. I will continue to be a voice out there telling people public libraries are critical to the health of our democracy, to the success of our neighborhoods, and to having a thriving, engaged community that is a great place to live and work and go to school and raise a family.
The 2025 legislative session was the topic for this month's Louisville Forum.
Today, giving a recap of the 2025 legislative session, what passed, what didn't, and what this legislation means for Louisville, we have with us two members of our legislature. First, we have Senator David Yates from Kentucky Senate District 37. And another familiar face is Representative Jason Nemes, who has been serving District 33 for several years, since 2017. Is that right?
You can watch the full Louisville Forum program each Wednesday at 7 a.m. and p.m. right here on Metro TV. The Louisville Academy of Music was at Klondike Elementary School for a presentation of Ferdinand and Friends.
Once upon a time in Spain, there was a little bull and his name was Ferdinand. All the other little bulls he lived with would run and jump and butt their heads together. Ferdinand knew that they wouldn't pick him and he didn't care, so he went to his favorite cork tree to sit down. But he didn't look where he was sitting. And instead of sitting in the nice cool grass in the shade, he sat on a bumblebee.
Mayor Greenberg is keeping the public informed with his weekly Mayor's Minute.
This week, we saw the Ohio River finally crest, and now it's receding. Tomorrow, Saturday, we have crews coming in to work with our Louisville Metro government team to clean up the riverfront as quick as possible. While we were working on preparing for the cleanup of this historic flood, we also had some great things happen this week across the city. Today, we kicked off the Kentucky Derby Festival events with the exciting annual They're Off Luncheon. We also have a great announcement that we've signed a 10-year deal with Danny River Presents to ensure that Urban and Beyond and Louder Than Life keep growing right here in Louisville, bigger and better than ever. Saturday morning, we're going to be having a community cleanup at Waterfront Park, and the cleanup will continue in the coming weeks. Thanks for everything you guys do, Louisville, for coming together to support one another during these challenging times as we recover from this historic weather. Have a great weekend.
JCPS is looking for moderate to severe disability teachers and assistants to join their team.
We're at Goldsmith Elementary, and I'm a special education teacher. I teach in the moderate to severe disabilities kindergarten through 5th grade classroom. We are working on independence. That's my biggest goal for my students, just making sure that they feel comfortable out in the world, advocating for themselves, and then academics as well. So we work a lot on communication and social skills and the self-help. We work on feeding skills, and then just pulling them and working on mainstreaming in the general education classroom to make sure they're able to work with general education peers.
People can look through microscopes.
I ended up working in an MSD classroom as an assistant for 2 years, and I just really fell in love with it. The kids are really great. They're very unique, but they're also just really funny and genuine. It's really fun to figure out what works for each kid, and each kid's very, very different. And so just being able to go in and to learn who they are, what they like, what motivates them, and then trying to figure out how to bring that to the table with learning. It just, I don't know, it just comes together in the end at some point, and it just is amazing to see.
I think I give probably 1,000 hugs a day, and their smiles are just, they melt your heart genuinely.
Ready? Okay.
I definitely have had struggles, but I am so happy with where I am. I have an incredible support team. I love all of my students' parents and my students. I mean, it's my family. So some days are tough, but you know, the next day is completely different, and you just keep going. The main things a special education, moderate to severe teacher would need is patience, understanding, and just being consistent, showing up every day and really being there for the students.
They really, really feel like family when you're helping them learn across academics and daily living skills and independent skills. You're there for literally every single thing that they might be learning, including just taking care of themselves. And so you just become really invested, and they really are like family to me.
So even though we have routines and our day does look the same, there's a tweak to it every day that does make it just different enough to keep it exciting. But you would see a lot of structure, a lot of routine, a lot of reinforcement. Most of my class is on some type of behavior support system. So we're constantly providing either verbal praise or a token for a token economy system, just making sure they know what the appropriate behavior is that we're trying to reinforce and advocate for and look for in our classroom. And I'm fortunate enough to have 2 amazing assistants, so you'll see a lot of hands-on, sometimes hand over hand, sometimes just a quick touch on the shoulder to make sure they know we're there. But yeah, lots of movement, lots of loud singing.
They're able to do it independently, they're able to do it consistently, and it's so exciting. And you go home and you're like, this is why I show up every day. This is why I come and I do this.
After years of putting in that work towards it, I mean, it's a big celebration. And just hearing the students say like, oh, I'm so happy, I can't wait to tell my parents, like, it's incredible. You get goosebumps genuinely.
We continue our Metro Council member profiles with new District 10 Metro Councilwoman Josie Raymond.
Hi, my name is Josie Raymond, and I'm the Metro Councilwoman for District 10. I was first elected to the Metro Council in 2024 after serving 6 years as a state representative in Frankfort. Before I served in the Kentucky General Assembly, I taught and worked with students in middle school, high school, and college, including at U of L. I'm a JCPS graduate and now a JCPS mom. I'm also a huge advocate for the life-changing power of pre-K for our youngest learners. I married my prom date from Manual, and now we're raising 3 little readers in the Klondike neighborhood. District 10 includes lots of great neighborhoods, including Audubon, Audubon Park, Camp Taylor, Watterson Park, West Buchel, and Buchel. We're the proud home of community assets like the Louisville Zoo, Joe Creason Park, the new Camp Taylor Memorial Pool, Audubon Hospital, St. X, JCPS's Newcomer Academy, and more. We'd love for you to come enjoy dirty soda and hot chicken in District 10, or better yet, move in. To learn more about District 10, please call 502-574-1110 or visit louisvilleky.gov/district10.
Did you know that several local businesses consider Louisville Pure Tap Water to be a key ingredient that makes their product special?
Hi, I'm Kayla with Louisville Water. Welcome to Above the Dirt Garden Shop. We're here today to see how this amazing local business is using Louisville Pure Tap in their daily operations. We're honored to be at the heart of their local business. Let's head inside to learn more.
So I've been dreaming of being a crazy plant lady for years. And on the same day, my husband and I both drove by this empty gas station and thought, this could be it. This could be the plant store. And that night he came up with the name Above the Dirt, and we've been here ever since. So I'm what I call an enthusiastic hobbyist when it comes to plants. This is intended to be a very safe place for everyone to learn together. Maybe we'll even Google it alongside you. So caring for plants comes to a few things. One, the best light possible, great water, and humidity. So making sure each plant, whether it's inside the store or outside in the lot, is getting the light, the water, and the humidity it desires to thrive. We use Louisville Pure Tap literally all day, every day. Whether it be our native plants, our house plants, the veggie garden that we grow here, we are watering 1, 2, maybe even 3 times daily, and we use Pure Tap to do it. The quality of water that we have here in Louisville is actually a rather big deal because, we're buddies with other plant stores around the country, and not everybody is able to simply use their tap water. They have to do these crazy reverse osmosis things to just water their plants. Where here I can just pick up a hose or a watering can. It's actually quite nice.
We're proud to give Above the Dirt Garden Shop the Made with Pure Tap seal of approval. Thank you for your commitment to quality and for using Louisville Pure Tap. Cheers.
Metro TV will be starting in 30 seconds. Good afternoon. My name is Kevin Kramer. I'm chair of the Budget Committee. It's 4:05 on Thursday, April 17th. I'm joined by my vice chair, Councilman Marcus Winkler. Also joined in chambers by Councilman Herndon, Councilman Lininger, Councilwoman Woolridge, Councilman Hudson, Councilwoman Chappell, Councilwoman Parker, and I'm joined online by Councilman Owen and Councilwoman Shamika Parrish-Wright. Is that everybody? Cool. Didn't miss me? All right. The clerk could read into the record.
This meeting is being held pursuant to KRS 61.826 and Council Rule 5A, read in full.
Great, thank you. We have 5 items on the agenda today. The first item is an item of special discussion. Typically, I would prefer to take the legislation first. I appreciate you're here to speak, but I'm hoping we can knock this out real fast and then move to there. So the first item that we'll deal with is item number 2. It is an ordinance amending ordinance number 100, series 2024, relating to the fiscal year 2024-2025 budget by transferring $25,000 from the Neighborhood Development Fund of District 15 to the Louisville Metro Council General Operations District 15. Assume Councilwoman Chappell will want to speak to this. Can we get a motion? Motion? Okay, it's properly before us. Councilwoman Chappell.
Sure. Just moving this money over because we have a third staff member in our office, and really, really grateful for that person. It's one of our U of L interns that we hired that was with us in the summer, or I'm sorry, the last fall, and she'll be with us through to this summer. And so to support her role as our legislative researcher and also my programs coordinator, we're moving this money over to my cost center. And I hope to have your support.
Colleagues, questions? Seeing none, this is an ordinance that calls for a roll call vote. Madam Clerk, if you please open the voting.
Voting is open. Councilman Owen?
Yes.
Councilwoman Parrish Wright?
Yes.
Sorry, you have 9 yes votes.
That's unanimous, and we'll go to the old business. We'll go to consent. Item number 3 is ordinance 07725. It's an ordinance amending ordinance number 100, Series 2, 2024, relating to the fiscal year 2024-2025 operating budget by transferring $35,000 from the Neighborhood Development Fund District 8 to the Louisville Metro Council General Operations District 8. Motion. Probably before us. Someone from District 8 here to speak to this. Councilman Winkler. Oh, okay.
Yeah, Councilman Reno Weber had texted earlier that he wouldn't be able to make the meeting.
Okay.
But I didn't see that Betsy was here, so.
All right. If you'll introduce yourself for the record.
Good afternoon. I'm Betsy Foster. I'm Ben Reno Weber's legislative assistant, and we would like to ask for this funding to allow us to pay for additional staffing expenses that we have and some end-of-the-year expenses that seem to happen right at the end of the year where everybody wants us to attend things. So we would appreciate that.
Great. Any questions? District 8? Seeing none, it's an ordinance calling for a roll call vote. Madam Clerk, please open the voting.
Councilwoman Parrish Wright?
Yes.
Councilman Owen?
Yes.
Okay. Chair Kramer, you have 8 yes votes.
Okay. All right. And one of those is Councilman Parker. Okay. That with unanimous consent, that goes to new business. I will get this right. That goes to consent as well. Moving on, item number 4 is ordinance 8125. It's an ordinance amending ordinance number 80, series 2023, relating to the fiscal year 2023-2024 capital budget, and ordinance number 100, series 2024, relating to the fiscal year 2024-2025 operating budget by transferring $213,776.50 from the capital project titled Louisville Muhammad Ali Center Improvements to the operating budget for operational purposes. Is there someone here to speak to this? Motion. I'm sorry, it's properly before us. If you can have a seat if you wish, or you can stand, whichever you most. Okay.
Too much energy.
All right, fair enough. Just introduce yourself for the record.
My name is Devon Holt. I'm the president and CEO of the Muhammad Ali Center, and several years ago, this committee committed resources for some capital projects that are already underway. There was some additional resources that we were asking to be reallocated from capital to operational to allow us to cover some expenses that we've incurred as a result of a fire that happened in our garage this past September and required us to have to leverage resources in other ways.
Great, thank you. And you and I had a conversation about this very thing, and correct me if I'm wrong. I'm going to try to capture, but I'm glad you're here to fix my mistakes if I make them. The primary expense that we had approved the capital for, that's been taken care of. You finished the big project.
That project is no fault of our own. It's still underway because of machining equipment that was necessary to replace the escalator inside of the Muhammad Ali Center. But that equipment has been now delivered, and the assembly process is soon to begin.
And the money that was allocated for that will cover the cost of that.
Correct.
So this money that we're talking about today, the $213,776, this is money that you would be able to use for other capital projects. That
Correct.
one is already finished. But it's not really enough to it's not really enough to do the other capital projects.
That's
so
correct.
You need to take care of those. And to your point from earlier, we talk metaphorically about putting out fires. But you literally had a fire the first month that you were there. Yeah. And so what you're asking for is this just as a one-time,
yes.
We're not doing this again and again.
Correct.
Just to get this taken care of, just to get you through this budget year.
That's correct. That is absolutely correct.
If I misspoke on any of that, if you'll correct
Not one word.
Great. And then, council members, are there any others that have questions? Councilman Winkler, I didn't know. Anybody else? Councilman Hudson.
Yeah. I may be wrong about this, but I seem to recall the last time we had this conversation, there was a topic of a $300,000 window that needed to be repaired. Has that been repaired, or?
It has not been repaired, no.
Okay,
But that wasn't part of the expense that this original expenditure covered. I want to make sure that I'm saying that correctly.
So I guess my question is, why would these capital dollars not be used to go toward fixing that capital project instead of operational?
We're working on a plan to do just that. Literally today, I had a meeting about that plan to replace that window. Unfortunately, that's a little bit complicated, only because of where that window's positioned and all that's required to replace it. And so it's a little bit more complicated because they've got to do some special scaffolding and some other things.
Okay, so there will be a request sometime in the future for?
Potentially.
Okay.
Potentially.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
There's also a goal, not with this money, but there's also a goal to revamp and relook at the way that they have been doing fundraising. Again, Mr. Holt's only been there for a brief amount of time. I want to be careful because I don't want anything I say to impinge or impugn the person that was there before, right? This is just a look forward. But Devon has already begun the work. I'm sorry, Mr. Holt has already done the work beyond Metro Louisville, beyond the state of Kentucky, and even beyond the borders of our country. And so we're seeing a shift in the way that we're potentially raising funds. And there's a great bit of excitement about that potential, which is why he is cautious, and I appreciate your caution, thank you, is cautious in saying potentially. The hope is that the answer to your question would be no, that the fundraising would take care of that. But no one wants to put that kind of pressure on, and I don't want us to get out ahead of him. But I need to say to you that when we sat down to have this conversation, that's part of the reason that I got to be comfortable with this. Because as you know, moving money from capital to operating is not something that I'm very much in favor of. And so this one made me nervous. We sat down and had a conversation. Still don't love it, but I'm not nervous anymore.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Any others? Seeing none, this is an ordinance calling for a roll call vote. Madam Clerk?
Councilwoman Parrish Wright?
Yes.
Let me try it again here. Sorry. Councilwoman McCraney?
Yes.
Councilman Owen?
Yes.
And I see you, Councilwoman Parker.
Again, this passes with a unanimous vote, and we'll go to the consent calendar. We will be talking about this again in the coming week, and I'm sure Councilman Winkler will as well. So if there are any questions or anything that comes up, if there's any concern at all, it's very easy to move this from consent to old business. Should people feel like that's necessary for the council meeting? Okay, so I'm sending it to consent, understanding that that's where we are, unless there's an objection. Seeing no objection, it will go on the consent calendar. Item number 5 is Ordinance 8225. It is an ordinance amending Ordinance 101, Series 2024, and Ordinance number 100, Series 2024, relating to fiscal year 2024-2025 capital budget and the fiscal year 2024-2025 operating budget, respectively, by transferring $50,000 from the District 9 Capital Infrastructure Fund to the District 9 Neighborhood Development Fund. Can I have a motion? It's properly before us. I assume Councilman Owen?
Yeah, just moving money around to cover staffing and other issues, and would appreciate your support in doing so. Thank you.
Questions from members of the council? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, if you'd open the voting.
Councilwoman Parrish Wright?
Yes.
Councilwoman McCraney?
Yes.
Councilman Owen?
Yes.
I got it. You have 9 yes votes.
All right, again, unanimous consent. This will go to the consent calendar. That's the last of the items for requiring votes today, so we're going to move back to item number 1, which is an operational review of Greater Louisville Lodging Management District. So if those of you who wish to speak would join us, and again, feel free to have a seat.
Okay, standing, but
It's okay with me, wherever you're most comfortable.
You have a presentation or no?
no.
Okay, if you want to introduce yourself.
Yes, my name is Eamon O'Brien. I'm the board chair of the Louisville Hotel Partnership, also serving as the general manager of the Omni Louisville Hotel.
Great. And what we have asked for this evening, is if you would come forward and share with us how it has gone so far. Are the revenues where you expected, more or less? Where are we? And given the revenues that you are collecting, how are they being distributed, and how consistent is that with your original plan/intent?
Well, thank you again. Good afternoon. Thank you, council members, for having us. I know many of you, but certainly not all of you, so thank you for the opportunity to come and talk through our fiscal year. Last year, we were able to slightly exceed our budgeted amount, so we're coming in. The assessment is going to bring approximately $7 million on a fiscal year basis, which is really right in line with our projections. So, and our proposed budget that our board just approved this week, of course, pending Metro Council review for our next fiscal year, is about $7.7 million. The primary focus of that, or $7 million of the 7.7, is driven to proactive sales initiatives to drive incremental room nights into the city, which is required per the ordinance.
Questions from council members? Oh, Councilman Winkler, I'm sorry.
It was good to see you. Just full disclosure, I was on this board for 2 years prior. I probably should know this answer, and maybe didn't think to ask it prior. We collect the occupancy tax from Airbnb. Is there a TID collected on that as well? Do you know? And does Airbnb also send a payment to the TID?
So from my understanding, the current state is no, because there's a caveat that needs to be 51 rooms or greater. So if there would be an Airbnb that meets that threshold, yes. We have our acting CFO as well, Amber, here. If I'm speaking out of turn, please let me know. I think that's accurate. Yeah. So under 51, but if someone has an Airbnb of that size, then yes, they should.
Anyone else? When this passed, there's a great bit of conversation around this. There was some conversation about, more specifically, about what could be done about how you would use the money. So you said to drive up room rates, or to drive up room rentals, to drive up bed, heads in beds. But there was also a conversation about helping out with other things. Transportation, all kinds of other things. Can you be a little bit more specific about what kinds of things you're doing with this $7 million?
Yes. So in answer to that question, I believe what you're talking about is the tourism infrastructure, which was the verbiage that was put in at that vote. I think you're alluding to approximately 2 years ago or so when it was enacted. So the two things that we've done proactively through partnership with our board, and our board is, to take a step back, our board is comprised of folks that are approved by the mayor and this council, basically to have small hotels, large hotels, all parts of Jefferson County represented, as well as people in the tourism industry, so as well as kind of understand what the needs are of the city in aggregate as best that we can. So the two biggest components of that, of where we're spending the biggest dollars, are direct flights to Louisville, as well as helping our workforce and helping develop hospitality as an industry. So I'll take the first one first, of getting direct lift into airports. We have budgeted $1.7 million to try to attract new direct business and help subsidize and fund new flights into Louisville, because that's going to help our workforce, help our leisure traveler, help Louisvillians, as well as help inbound and outbound traffic to attract new destinations for travelers about Louisville, and then business travelers as well. Something similar was done, from what I understand, of the direct flight to Boston. We started with one American airline, and now we have 2 American flights and 1 Delta, 6 to 7 days a week, depending on the carrier for Boston. So that type of the spirit of what we're trying to do is to get direct flights in there. $1.7 million what we've allocated in the budget, and if we're not able to get a win on that this year, we're going to have that in our fiscal year as well next year to try to attack those, led by Dan Mann and the STF kind of board as well, is the first one. Is there questions on that one? I can talk about University of Louisville as well, but direct flights.
No, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I don't want to get out ahead of you. Were you guys involved? There's a new direct flight into Los Angeles too. Am I doing that right? Or
Yes, so
Is that just projected? I'm trying to
projected. So from what I understand, we bid on 2 approximately 90 days ago. Maybe the date's a little bit wrong, but there was a direct flight to Los Angeles through Breeze, as well as a direct flight with JetBlue to JFK, New York City. Obviously, we have LaGuardia, we have Newark right now. We don't have JetBlue or a JFK airport, so we're trying to attack that as well, which is a co-aligned with some of our sales initiatives, which is not the question you asked, but in addition to attacking that market as well. Does that answer your question?
It does.
Okay.
Anyone else? All right, your second one then.
Yeah, so University of Louisville, we're very passionate about our industry. I'm very passionate about our industry. Unfortunately, Louisville does not have a hospitality major in the city. So as a stepping stone to that, we have funded a minor program at the University of Louisville at $550,000 over 3 years. It's really a 5-year commitment, but it'll be paid out over 3 years. That'll be sent to them. And we have hired a professor who's moving to Louisville from Utah, I believe Southern Utah University, Dr. A.J. Templeton, who's coming in. But we've already started a partial syllabus at the beginning of this year. And I'm not in the education business, but we got metrics that were given to us to say if it was going to be successful or are you ahead of pace, behind pace for what a minor should be? Because our goal is to have that as a stepping stone to a major, which could take 3 to 5 years from what I understand at least. But the minor program, really a win would have been 15 to 20 people the first year because we didn't have a professor yet leading up the program, and it was a partial syllabus. We're excited we have 55 people that signed up for a partial syllabus without a leader. So with that, with proper marketing and the hotel community behind that, as well as venue management, revenue management, those types of things, we're excited that hopefully the fall will be even greater than that when Dr. Templeton moves here this summer. So that's a part of it. And again, they haven't committed to anything. And the transition at University of Louisville so far has had 0 impact on our minor program. The momentum has been strong. She's very involved already with the Louisville Hotel Association, just trying to be engaged and trying to hold us accountable to provide internships, to provide actual jobs during the coursework, as well as arguably most importantly at the end to make sure that we have jobs for them and high-paying jobs because we're passionate about providing workforce, which is one of the commitments that we made as well.
Councilman Winkler.
Sorry, one more question, and this might be a question for Louisville Tourism. I don't know if you know this question. The current state of, I know we just had a hotel open up downtown today, I believe was the first official day of opening. Can you talk to the current state of where we are, capacity versus demand? How much more room do we have for more new hotels, both in the CBD as well as just the county overall?
Sure, I will speak to that from my perspective. I've been here 11, 12 years, and primarily in the downtown hotel community. I would say the first part of the answer to your question is we're about a 60 to 61% occupancy destination. So that's Jefferson County, that's Louisville, so obviously that's 40% empty. The goal is not necessarily always to be 100, providing that high level of service and bringing the authentic Louisville experience, but it's certainly closer to 100 than it is to 60. So the goal is to get more. So to answer that question, I would say we want more of everything, a bit more square footage at the convention center, more Class A space at the convention center, more hotels, select service, full service to try to drive larger conventions and steal business from our competition and keep growing conventions here. I would say that was the first part. So we are growing, and I think one of the part of the answer to that question, as well as Councilman Kramer, one of the things you asked is how we're doing. I feel like we're doing well. I can look both of you in the eye and say we're doing what we said we were going to do, and also we want to do more, we want to do better. So why I bring that up is because just the first 90 days of the year, Jan 1 through March 31st of the calendar year of 2025, demand has been soft. That's not exclusive to Louisville, but our leads were down 30% in February. So that's not nothing to do with this board. That just has to do with business demands, the uncertainty going on outside of these 4 walls, as we all have seen. Some of that we can't control, but what we can control is trying to be aggressive and trying to be proactive and use these dollars to go steal business from our competition. That we need to be scrappy. We need to do that consistently. So we're not there yet, but we have done what we said we're going to do so far, and we need to continue to do that.
If I could just ask a follow-up. It's my understanding when we go after some of these large conventions, 2 of the barriers that we face are, one, you mentioned the just general square footage of the convention center. So sometimes we have to piece together between the expo center and the convention center, which is suboptimal. And I think, a lot of these larger conventions then have a cost barrier related to the transportation between those 2 facilities. And then I believe the other barrier, and correct me if I'm wrong, is, a lot of times these large conferences don't necessarily want to split their attendees across, 4, 5, 6 hotels. And so having large properties is also important, not just for sort of total available room nights, but to specifically address some of this demand in the market, right?
Yes, that's absolutely correct, and I think that would be kind of to the point. We want both, right? We want to have. You've got to have large convention center hotels to drive those large programs, and our competitive cities, we all know, Nashville, Indianapolis, probably proximity-wise, the closest, of course, Chicago. Sometimes we play in those waters as well, but we need some of those anchor hotels, larger hotels, to be more attractive as a convention downtown package. Indianapolis, right up I-65, is consistently named one of the top 3, if not the top, convention destinations in the sense of that smaller footprint, which I think is what you're talking about. So you come here, you don't have to contract with 30, 40, sometimes 60 plus hotels for a handful of our larger conventions versus 15 or 20 or 10 in a downtown CBD.
So you've at least twice now said that you've done what you said you were going to do. You've done what you said you were going to do. One of the things that I know I said, and I don't think I was the only person saying it, that we hoped you would do would be to recognize that while we appreciate you bringing more people to Louisville and we love big celebrations, we're happy about conventions that come, we also want folks to acknowledge that I'll just use one tiny little piece of what we do as a government. When you bring this many people to our town, our ambulance service responds. Not a whole lot, but these visitors coming into our town, occasionally something will go wrong and they will need an ambulance. Mm-hmm. Metro Louisville doesn't collect sales tax when they eat at our restaurants. They don't collect the room tax when they stay in your hotels. We don't collect employment. Our normal way of getting money in Louisville is through the occupational license fee, which they don't pay when they're coming as a conventioneers. They're obviously not owning property, so they're not paying property tax. They're not paying insurance premium tax. They're not paying the personal property tax for their cars. They're paying no taxes to Louisville, to Metro Louisville. And yet Metro Louisville runs the ambulance when they need service. And that's just one tiny little example. They run the ambulance. In our conversation, I asked if there was any way, as we move forward, that this organization could take into consideration the expense that you're asking Louisville to take on so you could bring all these additional people to Louisville. And the implication was that we would at least see what we could do. I don't see anything in here where that's been taken into consideration at all. And it is, again, twice now, at least twice, you've said you did everything you'd said you'd do. So either I misunderstood what was part of the conversation before, or there are still opportunities for us to work together.
I think there's always opportunities to work together. I think specifically to one of the things I remember we talking about was one of the issues, and probably a small issue, there's many issues in Jefferson County, but homelessness is one of them. I know we had pretty in-depth conversations about that, and we are committed. We have in our budget 50 cents of every room night into our TID was going to be to give directly back to those. And I would need to have more people at the table to figure out what the best way to use those dollars are.
I appreciate the comment about homelessness. Thank you. I didn't realize that you were doing that. Just expand on that a little if you don't mind.
Yeah, so I think we know it's an issue. We know it's a complex issue, and I'm not smart enough alone to talk about that. I'm not intelligent enough, but I know it's across the street from my hotel every single day, and we have guests and our 72,000 workers in our industry that are in Jefferson County alone. They see and feel it, and sometimes feel unsafe every single day coming in and out of work. So we need to work together to address that, and that's what we are committed to doing. We're a small piece of the puzzle, but we're willing to commit real dollars to that. Moving forward, in a collaborative effort with other streams of revenue. And as far as the tax implications, again, frankly, that's above my pay grade. I'm happy to do what we can. To me, I think more people selling our city and getting into our city, I think is a net positive. Certainly there are costs to it, absolutely. I would absolutely also say that it's overwhelmingly a net positive, in my opinion, but I respect where you're coming from, and I hear where you're coming from.
I don't disagree it's a net positive. Yeah. I want to remind people, I absolutely think this is awesome. I love what you do. I just recognize that there are issues. So how much did you say is going towards homelessness?
If we 50 cents a room night, which would be about $90,000 to $92,000 if the current projections hold.
Great.
So,
no, thank you. I appreciate that. I didn't realize that you guys, and that wasn't, I'm not picking on you for not including it, but that wasn't in your presentation. So I didn't realize that you guys were doing that. So.
Right. We just approved it Monday, so you'll be the first to know about it. So we're hopefully, knock on wood, we'll have Metro approval in late June when we bring it to your council.
Thank you. And you have hit on one that we struggle with mightily. And we don't have all the answers either, but we appreciate having partners. So thank you for that. Really appreciate it. Any other questions? Seeing none. Thank you very much for presenting this evening.
Thank you.
And thank you for what you guys are doing. We appreciate it.
Thank you all.
You bet. Take care. Anything else for the committee? All right, without objection, we're adjourned.